Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? We are back with another Camel Chat, and today I'm excited. One, because we've got an Aussie, so him and I, we need no interpreter. We can clear it all up. But I'm excited about this guy, Clayton Menyweather, who is from Toowoomba, all right? Now, I'll tell you a little bit about Toowoomba in a minute, but he's the co-owner with his awesome wife, Emma, of Little Pig Consulting. Now, because I'm the Camel.co, I love that name, Little Pig, and I'm going to ask him how we got to that name later on. But the other thing, as I said, he's in Toowoomba. Now, for those that don't know, Toowoomba is a regional city in Australia, in Queensland, and it's only got 146,000 people. And that's one of the reasons I want to talk to Clayton today, because he's built a pretty big agency. How's he done it, going from regional to state to national? He's got customers all over the place. I want to know how he's done it. Right. The second part about it is Clayton has an incredible history of training, development, motivational speaking, especially with small business. And in fact, he's a small business mentor. So great bloke to have a conversation with, well, problems and issues that are with small business today. The other thing I love about him, he's a car bloke. He's got a Hyundai I'm jealous of, because we don't get that model in the Philippines, but he loves to go fast, and I'm friends with anyone that loves to go fast. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's introduce Clayton Menyweather from Toowoomba. Come on down, mate.
G'day. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm fabulous. Now, usually my introduction is enough. Anything after that doesn't matter if we're good or bad, right?
It's a bonus, mate. No, you did well. Well done.
Oh, mate, it's awesome. So you're good. So what we're going to start off with is the first question, which is real simple, and that is, give us the elevator pitch, 5 minutes on Clayton from birth, puberty, all the way through, right? Where you went to school, who you barracked for with footy, right?
Right.
Just a little bit of a life story for the last...
Yeah, quick one. Born and bred on the Sunshine Coast, which is north of Brisbane, an hour and a half north of Brisbane. Went to Coolum Primary and Coolum High School. So little beach town it was back then. Now it's a real tourist place. Left school in year 10 and went straight into retail. And I had more jobs than hot breakfasts, which is the saying in Australia.
Yeah.
And, jumped around a fair bit. And then I suppose lost my way, really. I lost my way in my probably mid-30s, late 30s, lost my way and suffered greatly with depression and anxiety and that sort of stuff. I ended up breaking up my family, doing the wrong thing, and lost my wife and kids. And
wow.
Anyway, that was 2009, 2010, dusted myself off. I'd been bankrupt. That was the second time I'd been bankrupt, actually.
Yeah.
So financially ruined. Bounced back in 2010, met Emma, started a new family, bought and sold a few properties. And then in 2015, I landed teaching at TAFE. By this stage, I'd accumulated a few qualifications in my early 40s. And then, then I got a friend of mine said, do you want to come and teach at TAFE? So off I went, taught at TAFE for a few years, and then that came to an end. And that's when I started Little Pig Consulting. So 2017, we started Little Pig, and we haven't looked back since. So
where'd you get the name Little Pig?
Love it. It's, every time somebody asks me that, I have a little smile, because what that does is, hopefully it'll demonstrate a particular skill. I'll answer that first, is that, well, I didn't want to call it Clay's Consulting. In fact, when I started, I thought I'm just going to do some business coaching and some HR work and some sales training. I had no idea that it would become an agency. So my wife, Emma, being a school teacher at the time, we actually set up some criteria first. So for anyone that's watching that wants to start a business and create a business name, my advice would be is to actually set some criteria first. So some of the criteria that we set was it had to be saleable, because I want to sell the business one day. So it couldn't be Clay's Consulting. It had to be memorable, easy to spell. If it can say what you do, that's a bonus. It also had to, I thought my audience was mainly female, so it had to be pastel in colours, soft and gentle. And I wanted an animal in it, because you can always play with an animal in marketing terms, So that was the criteria. And so we started running some different names. And then Emma come across the Three Little Pig story, and they were builders. And the third little piggy was very tenacious and, did a great job. And then, there's some analogies around the big bad wolf, and we can muck around with that. So Little Pig Consulting was born, and our tagline is building small business tenacity. So it's important to have a bit of a story behind the name, because it's very memorable. And what it demonstrates, hopefully, to you and to your audience is that when you start a business, you can be creative. And we were creative from day dot with our business name, and we had no idea what we were going to evolve into, but here we are. So still do some business coaching and some mentoring, but that's probably about 10 or 15% of the revenue. The rest is all over on the digital agency side.
And you know what I like about it too? It's a good icebreaker, Little Pig.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's like the camel. I can walk in anywhere and I'll give you the story about the camel, right?
Yeah.
In your case, you can walk in anywhere and people go, where'd you get Little Pig from?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're in rapport, and half the battle is over, as you know. If you're not in rapport, forget about even trying to do business. One quick question. What is year 10 in, how old was that, year 10?
15.
Yeah. It was funny because I was 13.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Family super poor, had no money, and wanted to wear Levi's jeans. And the only way I could do it, leave school. And so I left school and I worked for KFC. I lied. I said I was 15, and I started off as a cook, cleaner, bottle washer. So I relate to that. And I'm also a great believer. I don't care about qualifications, study, nothing, don't care. Some of our best people in the Camel didn't graduate from high school.
Yeah.
Walked in the front door and said, I need a job. I love that sort of stuff. And when you've had trouble and tribulation, I'm not saying that myself was not exactly the most well-behaved lad, right? And had more marriages than breakfast, so I think. But a lot of where I am today is because of that. If I hadn't gone through all that crap, I wouldn't be the bloke I am today. So marvellous. I love it. So one of the things I wanted to really drill down, like we could talk about the agency, we talk about the factory websites and all this wonderful stuff, but get into the teaching bit. What was the driver to get involved in that from the early days? Like, you were a bit of a salesman.
Always in sales, born sales, love the thrill of the kill.
Oh, the thrill of the kill, you can't beat it.
And I was doing telemarketing for a while, and I was so good at doing telemarketing that they picked up my family at the time and moved us, down to Adelaide.
Wow.
And I ran a call center down there for them. So, cut my teeth on sales, telemarketing, and I've done a lot of door-to-door stuff. So teaches you so much. And then I landed a gig in Brisbane selling high-end IT gear to accounting firms. So, I was in a three-piece suit every day, and I would use the whiteboard, because the bloke who I was working for, always drew diagrams and always, showed them what the IT was doing and explained it to them. So that sort of helped me along. I've always, early days was involved in church stuff. So was always, giving public speaking and teaching and whatnot. So it sort of evolved to there. And then once, I didn't ever think I could teach at TAFE. It was not even on the radar, but this friend of mine said, I think you'd be great. You've got so much experience. So I ended up getting the right qualifications so I could teach. Already had some diplomas and other bits and bobs. So I was able to go there and actually talk about my life story and then educate them through their course. And like when I sell through telling stories. And it's funny because when I first started with that IT fellow, I didn't have any stories to tell. So I was brand new. So what I did is I told his stories, made them my own. And then eventually, as I sold and put some jobs on the board and, won some deals, I had my own bag of stories I could tell. So I think telling stories, and that really comes into our agency, is telling good stories that people want to listen to, they want to watch or read, or a podcast or a vodcast. It's, telling a good story.
Yeah, all my blogs are stories. And I'm a storyteller. Even back in the day when I was preaching and things, I'm a storyteller, right?
Yeah.
But as a salesman, I just reckon it's all stories. You know, it's when you walk in, and do you feel that's something, because you brought up like a history, telesales, bloody hard thing to do.
One of the hardest.
Telemarketing so hard. Door to door, lost art.
Yes.
Totally lost art. So do you, when you're sitting there now training small business guys, are they like one person owner operators?
No, so the certificate 4 that I teach, some of them are single operators, some of them are managers, or they've got a few staff. Typically, they're the smaller end of town, who are sometimes still in startup or only been in business a few short years. So the qualification that I end up teaching them, they end up with a business plan that they can use. So it's typically for people who've had a business for a little while, but are ready to take it to the next level. And I think the difference is with myself versus some other business mentors and coaches is I'm still on that growth trajectory.
Yeah.
A lot of these coaches, you see them around the world. I've turned this into a multi-million-dollar business 10 years ago. Well, how relevant is that now? So I'm still living it, still doing it. I'm still on that trajectory, and I think that's a benefit to anybody that's engaged with me, because I'm still in growth mode. I'm still hungry. I'm still wanting to grow the business, and I think you can learn a lot from people who are still in that trajectory rather than the has-been that could be a bit washed up.
So what are the major things that come across the small business guys? What do they struggle with that you struggled with the same thing?
I think some of the biggest things that small business struggle with is accountability.
Yep.
And I do. I really struggle with accountability. So, and for me, I've got a business coach as well. And I think I'd be a fraud if I didn't. If I thought business, pushing business coaching onto my clients, but I didn't have a coach. So I have a business coach, and the problem that they have with me is trying to keep me on track and keeping me accountable. It's not that I don't know what to do. It's that I don't have enough time, or I don't allocate the time to it, and then I don't follow through. So for me, I have the shiny syndrome thing where something will float off with the butterflies quite often, and I'm off on a new tangent. In fact, Emma calls me Mr. 80% because I get to 80% and I go, that'll do, and take off onto the next project. So,
what do you call it? Butterfly syndrome?
Well, no, it's sort of shiny object syndrome.
Shiny object syndrome.
Yeah,
Shining. That was a great part of that movie when the crab was singing in Moana.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one yet.
Gotta be shining. And then he beat up, what's his name? Right? Shining syndrome. I like that.
Shiny object syndrome. And it's a thing. And look, I'm getting better. It's just something I continue.
So accountability, what else?
Small business doesn't know what it doesn't know. And I think, legislation here in Australia keeps on changing. We've just got some legislation changing around employee types, casual employees.
Yeah.
We've got some stuff hanging around cybersecurity and all sorts of things. So being a small business is not as easy as it used to be.
Yep.
And it's full of pitfalls. So having somebody there to bounce ideas off, and then I direct them to a legal person or an accounting person. I might give a bit of general advice, but I certainly don't. I preface it with, I know nothing in that area, that you get that right advice proper. But I've got a lot of general knowledge, and then around building a business and treating staff and selling and processes and that sort of stuff.
And you still have a mentor now?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Because, we deal with hundreds and hundreds of bloody agencies, and some of them are huge and some are small.
Yeah.
And if I asked 10 of them, who helps you out? They'd all say, I do it all myself, I'm fine, blah, blah, blah. But you go to the successful ones, they're all got a mentor.
Yeah.
Someone, even me, I've got one guy who's a huge dude agency, and I call him my godfather, right?
Yeah.
That I will check up and say, mate, is this a really good idea? I'm not embarrassed to do it because, mate, we're not the best at everything. There's some things we can't do, I am totally useless technically. Right? I don't even know how to open the Doodoo editor that we use, right? I had no idea how something works. But back in the day, I sold $100 million wireless networks. I didn't know how they worked, but I had an engineer with me. He knew how they worked, but I knew how humans worked.
Absolutely.
Right. And I was really good at that bit. And I was really good at strategy, but I was bloody useless. And the other thing I'm not good at, I'm not politically correct. I'm not, I don't play well with others. Right.
Right.
And that's a bit hard because I've got to play with some big players. And I use him as my sounding board saying, mate, how do you reckon it'll go if I say this? And he'll go, don't be stupid, you idiot. Right.
Yeah.
Do you think with a mentor, you've got to allow them to beat you up?
Absolutely. And I think you've got to be vulnerable too. You've got to allow them in. And a good mentor will get to know you and your personality and how you tick. So yeah, you've got to allow them in, and you've got to let out some stuff so that they know what to work on. So, and the other part is, it's all very well to, have someone suggest something to you, but you've got to be ready for it. And I've got a classic bad dad joke, which I'm sure you'll love. And the joke is, how many social workers does it take to change a light bulb?
Dunno.
Only one, but the light bulb's got to want to change. But it illustrates the point. And I've got a form that I get people to fill out, and it's on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you ready for change? Because if you're not an 8.5 or a 9, come back and see me when you are.
Yeah.
There's no point wasting each other's time. So you've got to be ready for change. You've got to let stuff out and be a bit vulnerable. And let people in. But then you've got to be ready to make those changes. And sometimes that can be a little bit brutal.
Mate, I'll tell you, it's actually Nat Rosacco, right, who's in Chicago, got a fantastic agency, Olive Street Design. And him and I have known each other for 10 years, and he's seriously so tough, right? Old Italian, old school, beats the crap out of me. I call him Brother Nat, or I actually say Dad, Godfather, many times, right? But I was probably a little bit lucky that he fell in my lap. But I do like this idea. And I reckon there's a lot of people going to listen to this and say, shit, that's a good idea. I need this. But let's say they haven't got a lot of money. Where do they find one?
I think here in Australia, we have the Mentor for Growth program in Queensland. It's a Queensland government initiative, and I'm actually a Mentor for Growth person as well. So they get free access to a mentor, and then a free follow-up session 6 or 12 months later. It's tough. I don't know that there's mentors depends on the relationship that you want with a mentor. So, a mentor can sort of touch base once a month for a half an hour and check in with you, which is fine. But a business coach, and this is where I differentiate myself, I think, from other business coaches and mentors, is I still have a whistle, but I'm not on the sideline blowing a whistle, giving directions or whatever. I'm actually on the field, in the front row, taking the ball up the line. And I think that's the difference with a good business coach. And you almost cross over to being a consultant as well, where you're actually consulting, but you're also doing it with them. So I find, because I'm an educator, I love getting in there and teaching them how to do it. And sometimes that is showing them how to do it first and educating them that way. So, that's not standing on the sidelines. That's actually getting in there, being in the front row and pushing the ball up.
How's it help Little Pig?
It doesn't help Little Pig a lot, to be honest. What it does do is give me a lot of satisfaction. It's revenue is okay, but it's not. I'm not going to get rich from it. But more importantly, it's great for me. I really enjoy it. It's a part of my job that I love, and I love to see the results. And I've got one young couple about to have their second baby, and they've got an electrical business, and the wife has been pestering the husband for years to do things a certain way. Couldn't get traction. I come along and I said, mate, this is what I think you should do. And now he's doing it, and he's home at night for his little ones. He's not He's not working over the weekends as much as he used to. There's some structure. And I'm not talking big life-changing things, rocket surgery. We're talking about little things that have made such an impact to their family.
Yeah. As
well as their business. And I think that's my difference too, is that, I touch on family relationships a little bit as well. And this family is just, come so far, which is great to see. So from that point of view, I enjoy doing that. I love seeing the results and seeing, how
if you work out with a small business, the family part is so important. Because if you don't have a partner support, you don't have partner understanding, financially can get a bit tough. I can remember back in the day when I was doing management consulting, and I was like this close to, that moment you make it.
Yeah.
We'd done like 2-3 years of no money work to get to that point. And I can remember the wife at that stage saying to me, "You've got to go and get a real job," because I could earn so much as a salesman. And I kept saying, "But that's not what I've done, all this work to get to this point." And I gave in. And it ended up being one of my biggest regrets, for a long time, because I'd worked so hard, but I didn't have the support of the partner. So I think you do a great thing by mixing them both together. Do you get, because you've got a digital agency, right? So you do websites and you do social media, which is pretty big for you, right?
Yeah.
And do you do SEO and stuff like that as well?
Yeah. So we've I didn't mention that, but we've got some software from Neil Patel. You probably know what it is, and it's been, so we put a little package together, and I think that's the key, is to look at your market and see the opportunity that's there. And I've got another mate who's got an SEO agency here in town, and he's on the global scale. He's off the charts.
Yeah.
But I don't know what he charges, but I know it's thousands and thousands every month, and that's his client base. But there's a whole bunch of small businesses that can't afford that, but need to start somewhere. And so we saw that opportunity. So we've put a couple of little packages together where we can do some basic, I call it basic SEO work for them, and just watch them gradually move up the ranks.
Is there a crossover from the consulting side where you're mentoring, where, like, does it help Little Pig grow?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I know you said, "Oh, what's the benefit of Little Pig?" Well, it does. It does. There is some cross-pollination there. And it goes both ways. So some of our social clients or whatever will say, "Oh, we need a bit of help with this. I've got a staff member that's acting up. Can you give me a hand?" Yeah, absolutely. So we do get a little bit of cross-pollination between some clients. But again, we're probably the worst marketing agency in town when it comes to marketing ourselves and telling people what we do. In saying that, though, we have a great reputation in our town, and we're well known for a number of different reasons. But I think we could improve on getting our messaging out there. We're just so busy doing it for everybody else. A bit like the plumbers.
It's funny though, because when I look at your Facebook page, right, which are pretty bloody active, right?
Yeah.
But I've noticed you're at a lot of events.
Yes.
Right. I think you're a member of Rotary.
No, I was at a Rotary meeting the other morning, but with members of the Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce, right? So you're doing all that. And they're normally the things I recommend people get involved with.
Absolutely.
Right, to get the word out there. So I'm a bit confused when you say, "Oh, we don't promote," because you seem to do so much.
I suppose I'm probably our hardest critic, our own hardest critic. I think we could be doing a lot more in explaining what we do. Not every client knows the full range of services that we offer. So anyway, it's I'm always trying to move forward, and nothing's ever perfect, Mr. 80% here. So
mate, we're work in progress every day of our life
Absolutely.
until we go in the grave.
That's it.
And then decomposition is the work in progress. All right.
Yeah.
When you first started Little Pig, you had all these little assets, right? The telemarketing. What I love is the door-to-door. Because the general question we get, if you notice on a lot of Facebook page questions, they'll come and say, "Well, what's the best way to start an agency?" And I'll always say, find a niche. Unless you've got really broad selling experience and you can go out anywhere, find a niche. What's a niche? Well, What's one thing you love doing? Well, I love motorbikes. Well, motorcycle mechanics is your niche. Go out and find all the motorcycle mechanics and try and flog them digital marketing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where they struggle, or I don't know how to approach them. I don't know what to do. In this day and age, because everyone's so bloody social media, they think it's, oh, we just start a Facebook page and away you go. They don't have that ability to just say, I'm going to get my car, I'm going to grab my kit, and I'm going to knock on every pizza joint in Toowoomba, right? What's your strategy when it comes to setting up a cold calling, door knocking thingy for a brand new, I'm a brand new business and you're mentoring to me. What are you trying to do?
I'm just going to write a couple of quick notes so I remember. The first thing, I think we've lost the art to hustling.
Hustle.
You know, yeah. I think we've lost that ability.
Yep.
We also think things should happen instantaneously because with a digital environment, we're used to getting a like straight away or a response straight away. So we think business is the same, that I'm just going to start a business. The other thing I think people fail is planning. They do not do any market research. I don't know how many little startups we get coming in here and they say, oh, I'm going to start a brewery. I had one guy in here. He had no teeth, looked like he just got out of bed, came in here, took a free appointment of mine and said, I'm going to start a microbrewery. I said, do you know anything about brewing? Yeah. Do you know anything about brewing? No, I just love beer and I love ginger beer. And I think there's not enough ginger beer on the shelf, so I'm going to start a microbrewery doing ginger beer. And I said, mate, you need to do some market research because who wants your product? Is there a need for it? Is the volume there? Who are your competitors? What are they charging, etc.? And then, the whole supply chain, and then there's licensing, legal crap. So I think people first, they fail to plan. Yep. They don't know how to hustle.
No.
I don't think. They don't know how to sell themselves. And they don't know how to present. So I've got a couple of sayings. Number one is start out like you mean it.
Yep.
Okay, so from when I first started, I had business cards. I had a shirt just like this. I had stickers on the car. They weren't flashy stickers, but I knocked on my very first door and it looked like I've been doing it for years. That's step one. A bit of fake it till you make it stuff there.
Yeah.
The other thing, another saying I have is act like $1 million business at 100,000.
Yep. Amen.
Start putting stuff in place that $1 million business would have.
Absolutely.
Processes, policies, procedures, contracts. Get all that foundation and that's scaffolding going. And I think, again, that's what people fail to do. And so swinging back to my course, there's some scaffolding stuff in there and some legal stuff and some financy stuff that helps fill some of those gaps.
Yep.
But yeah, we've lost the art to hustle. We don't know. The other Australians, I think, in general, have lost the art of asking for the sale.
Or the order.
Yeah.
They're too bloody scared, mate.
So in telemarketing terms, we had a little bit of a joke. The first person, you'd ask, I'd say, so, can I have your business?
Yep.
And the first person to speak would lose. Either if I spoke as a salesperson, I'd lose the sale because I'd talk over the top of them, or they'd lose their money because I made a sale. So the first person to speak loses. So I think we've lost the art too of asking for the sale, asking for the business. I had a client.
Go back to that mentor thing. There's not a lot of great sales managers that will teach people how to ask for the order. Vince Schiller, best sales manager I've ever had, turn around and say, Hodgie, if you don't go in there and get that deal, you're no good to me, mate, and you're no good to yourself. Go and ask that man for a deposit and sign on that thing now, or don't come back and talk to me for the rest of the day. Have we got it, Hodgie? And I'd say, yes, Mr. Schiller. And I'd walk in there and I would not let that bloke go until I got that deal. Right?
Have you heard of a guy called Brian Tracy?
Oh, mate, love Brian. Love him.
Classic old guy. He must be nearly 80 now, but the theory remains the same. It's very relevant in this digital age. I had a client the other day come in and we sat down because, I have a sales process. If you want to talk about that later. She's sitting down and I did up the quote and she said, look, I'll come back to you next week. And I said, I almost said, what have I got to do to get your business? But I said, obviously this is a budget thing. How far off am I? soft close, not too hard.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, about $200 a month." I went, $200
Done.
off. Let's go. Done. You know, yes, it
That
hurts.
easy. Yep.
But you know what? As a result, we've won another 2 of her locations.
But if you didn't ask,
That's the point.
you would have walked out there and all you've done is what?
Well, I would have forgot to follow up because I'm Mr. 80%. So I never
you know
followed
what
the
I'm
quote.
saying? But if all you've done is nothing.
Well, I've wasted a whole lot of time.
You've had an expensive conversation. And that's what I was taught from years and years. Haji, if you don't do that deal, you've just had a bloody expensive conversation and you haven't made money to go home to your family, son. Right?
Yeah.
Go in there and close it. Follow him up. Chase him down the road. Do whatever you have to do. And when you say hustle, I also think hunger. A lot of people aren't hungry.
No, and this is the other problem, Shane. I don't know whether you have this, but money doesn't drive me. So, you know, at the moment we've got good revenue.
Yep.
I'm earning a good living personally, probably earning more money than I ever have.
Yep.
So was Emma. We don't drive flashy cars. We don't have a big flashy house, but we're comfortable and we're satisfied and we're content is the word. But then you can get a little bit complacent if you don't have something to chase. So, you know, for me, it's not about my wealth or my income. It's probably about building the business to a stage where I can employ better people or, you know, or pay the employees I've got better, which is always a strategy, and share the wealth, not just take it.
I love the win.
Yeah, me too.
No matter what, I love the win. It's better than
Absolutely.
I sit back and I go, how good is that? And
well, you're doing it wrong
matter.
if it's better than that, mate. Sorry.
Oh, mate, I'm sorry. Then again, yeah, you're right. I've had better sex than I've had sales. Sorry about that, Clarissa. But the other thing about it is I've always had something that I want to motivate me. You know, like whether it be a new motorbike or whether it be a watch. And it's funny, my son, who I won't mention because he'll yell at me if he watches this, right? And we were talking, he's having a bit of a tough time. He's going through a bit of a drought selling wise. And I said, go and look at expensive motor cars, helicopters, boats, $5,000 suits, whatever. Get yourself something where you go, I'm going to aim for that.
Yep.
Sitting with no big, right? A good lunch at a restaurant, but I decided I'm going to, and I'm going to go buy that watch.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell that today. I'm going to go buy that tie, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. I love to reward, but I love to hustle. I love the thrill of the kill, and I actually love to cold call.
I do too, and I don't get enough time to do it, to be honest. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy watching something come from nothing. And also, I've got a bit of a theory that I want to create a top 100 list to a top 50 to a top 20. I want to do one top 20, one top 50, and 3 top 100s a month as an example, and do some cold sales calls again. But the problem is, Shane, we're already pretty busy. It's not that I don't need it, but I don't need it.
No.
So
what we're looking at is for the average Joe blog that starts, or Jane, right?
Yeah.
I'm being politically correct now. All right.
Good.
They've got a cold call.
They have to.
And there is a fear. And what I say to them is, it's like when you go to a party and you know nobody. You've got to start a chat. That's what cold calling is.
Yep.
It's some of my best friends I sold things to.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all it is. And it's funny when you get them, even when I did training, and I'd take people to a pub and I'd say, you've got to make friends in here and you've got to come back and tell me someone's life story. And they'd be panicking and I'd go, it's just a chat. That's all it is. Right. Cold calling's the same. That's why I used to think it was so much fun. I'm going to make a new friend. Even if they kick me out, I'm still going to make a new friend. And I think that's interesting. So looked at a lot of the basic stuff, but one thing that really get your opinion on, especially the new business, right? Over the everything.
Shane, I'm having some technical difficulties here. I missed the question. Please repeat that for me, mate.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Or
I heard artificial intelligence. That's all I heard. Oh, I've lost you. I don't know whether it's your end or my end, but you can hear me all right, eh? AI is exciting but scary. I think the opportunities for ChatGPT and ChatGPT 4 has just come out.
Yep.
It has so much good it can do, but I think there's a dark side, and even to the point where I was watching something yesterday where Microsoft had developed a program that's going to supposedly knock Canva off. So we can literally put some words into there. It'll generate text and an image for a social post.
Yep.
So I think there's some benefits to it. I think we can see through AI written stuff. There's obviously software to detect it. Even our educators are getting better at what software to use to detect. So that's the dark side. But the good side is we had a client come in the other day, and she's a startup and she's a marriage celebrant, and we're helping her decide on a business name. So again, we set the criteria out on the board like we did for ourselves. And I said to ChatGPT, we want to start a marriage celebrant business. What sort of names would you suggest? And we want it to be quite, a little bit funky, Yeah. Anyway, it gave us 10 ideas. We used none of them. But the point is, one of them actually got us on a tangent, which led to the end result. So I think if it's used correctly, which is actually to generate and stir the pot full of ideas to help start the creative juices, I think that's a good thing. And I was only just on it this before using it for an application for something. So it's got some good uses, but there's a danger side where, people are going to potentially come up with a qualification with no knowledge because they've used ChatGPT to write their assignments. So it is a bit scary. I'm watching a lot of stuff around marketing and agencies and, will it replace an agency? No, it won't. Like anything new, people are trying it out and they'll get sick of it. And they still will be time poor, which means they still need people like you and me to build them a website. Yeah, you can go on there and do all this yourself, but a lot of people don't have the time or the expertise. So I think there's always going to be a market for humans. I don't think that the world is going to be taken over by AI at all.
No, and what I've noticed is have a soul, right?
Yeah.
One of the agencies we know well, Philip Decourtier, right? He went mad one weekend and started doing all these pictures on AI, and they were absolutely phenomenal, except when he started doing pictures of food, right?
Okay.
Now, I'm a foodie, I'm a cook, right? I just love it. And when I saw the pictures of the food, they look yummy, but then when you had a deeper look, they look no soul. They look sad. Like the coriander that was sitting on top of the rice was all wilted and, had McDonald's orange cheese, It just lacks soul. But what I worry about, it's like the basics that we've mentioned already, and that's the ability to hustle, the ability to cold call, all those things that are attributes for you to have a successful business. What has happened as time has gone on? People fell into, I got a social media post, I got a Facebook account. That's how I'm going to find customers.
Yeah.
I worry that AI will put people into the same false sense of security before they learn the attributes and assets that can really build their business. That they rely on that too much. I noticed
they're people skills, Shane, aren't they? They're people skills, and AI can't give you people skills.
And it does what it's told, or by a question, and it goes to information from things it's heard. doesn't have that tool to be able to start a conversation with a stranger.
Yeah.
And, you know, I worry about little freelancers. I think they might go by, you know, for basic blog, basic, I reckon they're bad. But for the rest of it, I hope everyone's thinking like you are. I've noticed from when it first came